Yeah, let's pull Mercy up, man. I'm ready.
Yo.
I'm ready to chop shop.
We also had Mercy's guy on too. Dead Song was on there for the first bit.
There he is. I thought he was part of the Starseed team, man.
Yeah.
No, we just sneak in everywhere we can get into it.
I was like, did
Love
we
it.
leak the guest link publicly? Like, are we gonna have like literally 20 people on stage right now? I don't even know.
Dude, imagine. This is huge. For those that don't know, Mercy's coming off maybe the hottest ICM conversation of all time from last night. Huge stream with Razmir, and you had Frank and Finn and Kled and Dupe and everyone. The who's of ICM were on there. So you guys killed it. How was that experience, Mercy?
I really appreciate. Dude, headphones are a little messed up. I'm gonna take these out.
Yeah, you're good. Take your time.
Okay. Mic check, real quick. We sounding okay?
You're good. You're good.
Mic check. Is that?
You're good.
Nice. Yeah, guys, dude, legendary space, completely random, had no plans for it whatsoever. Dude, I just got back from fucking camping. I swear to God, I went camping Saturday night because I'm just like, boys, this is it. Like, I know once I start this, there's no going back. There's no more weekends. There's no more, camping trips and vacations for a little bit. Like, it's going to be like lock-in season for a while. So I was like, I took my girlfriend. I'm like, let's go camping. Let's go to the woods. Let's get away from all this for a little bit. And dude, I came back to like a slurry. Like, I feel like a slurry of stuff that had happened while I was gone. Like, guess Dow's Fun is cool again. And then tonight, obviously last night, they did this pop-up ICM space. And I just joined you on the complete random. I had no plans for this, no expectations. But dude, I know Frank, man. I know Razmer. I've met Frank in person, bros. Like, I know a lot of these guys on stage. Like, Web3 Adam is actually like a mentor in the DAO that we're a part of. So I know a lot of these guys already. And honestly, like, for a lot of people don't even know, like, Frank really actually is the one that ushered in the original ICM meta around AI. So it was actually a really insightful discussion. But yeah, dudes, like, obviously it looks like the bet was good for ICM.
Yeah. Man, and you know what, Mercy, what that showed me last night, that conversation is, despite people having their differences and opinions on what equity or a flywheel should look like, everyone agreed that ICM is the answer, right? And despite maybe the future being blurry, like, I think that was just so telling that everyone kind of wants to see this win, which is why it's interesting to have you on, because you're pioneering the future of ICM with ICM.Run. And, today we have you on here to really focus on that and share more about your vision and what you're building, kind of clear everything up so people understand and get that messaging out there. We also have a little, some giveaways to be doing on the stream too. So it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm excited to do it with you guys. Like the lore is just, I was a builder, I was a product builder and have been a product builder. I built a SaaS. I walked away from that SaaS this past March. I was trading, I really love like beta testing for products. So I've been a beta tester for like so many Web3 products in this space. Kind of got my name here doing that. Like, just like, I wouldn't say like your favorite founder knows me, but as dev does for sure, like 100%. So I've always been in more dev communities. Like, the PFP I'm wearing is a dev community called Doge Capital, started by this guy named the Doge Father, who actually pioneered a lot of original Meteor tech too as well. I don't want to take his flowers away from him, even though he's playing for the Bonk team now. I do still want to give him the flowers. Like, he did build like this really OG, like dev focused PFP collection community. And it was really inspiring for me. I take a lot of inspiration from it. And he knows that. And so essentially I was kind of like always in and around ICM, just like in its like infancy. So I walked away from my startup and I decided to help my buddy Kevin, who was running a product called TweetTM. I've known him for years, help him do product stuff. And that was actually it. There was no plan for tokenization. There was never a plan for us to like ship for that. It was actually just like, I built a product on top of X before successfully. So I was going to help him do a little bit of like stuff called like product-led user acquisition strategies. Like, how can we go like viral posts and get a lot of users, that kind of stuff. And, I was watching Believe App was happening. And obviously we evaluated it. We figured out a lot of traders would be probably byproduct users or no customers for this. So we went for it. And I think we went phenomenally well. And I'm still unfortunately at a stage where I really can't share what's the latest, but I can tell you when you find out, it'll make a lot of sense. It ended up going so much further than all of our expectations. It went so much further than anything we ever could have imagined. And it went from this, like, what was supposed to be just like this fun little activation I did with my friend to, he'll tell his story, when it comes time to share it. And I'm really looking forward for that moment when we get to share it. So the thesis then became, let me run it back. You know what I mean? Let me go see if there's another Web2 startup founder I can connect with. And as I was going through that, there was a lot of teams that were still shipping. This was around like May, June. So like around this time, like coins were coming out every week. It was like an every week thing back then. So I actually decided to sideline and just sit back and pay attention. So I started this community, Believe Big Brains, just so I could like kind of keep an active sentiment check on like, is this like a thing? Is ICM a thing that really is going to be here in a long time? Or is this just like this short-term fad? So I started Believe Big Brains purely just so like, I'm not trying to look for insider information, but I just want to like, there's no group chat for ICM, So I wanted to like create a group chat just to learn. And as I was essentially incubating this project and building this community, I realized that a lot of the rails that exist for like institutionally backed utility coins, I would call it institutional ICM, which was here in, I released this in my good book, the very first page, like the 2017 to 2023 era of utility coins, and all of their investors are all completely sidelined to this new trading base right now. And like, this kind of goes over that concept a little bit broadly and it breaks it down below it. But essentially, there is a massive appetite for ICM because ICM, all it really is just a utility company that has a revenue, that has a coin, and there's some type of flywheel or mechanism for those things to coexist, broadly speaking, on a public open ledger on Solana. And essentially, really what it is most of the mentors and like contributors in ICM.Run are just RWA founders, like Collateralize, who completely fair launched their RWA launchpad on Pump Fund back in last year, hit a 90 million market cap. Nobody talks about that much anymore, but that partly is just like they're a market leader of ICM. There's a lot of these edge cases, a lot of people aren't familiar with. And my goal is to kind of bring these people together. So this way, when really cool opportunities come around for projects that want to tokenize, and there's a lot of them, we can bring some smart minds together and do something that's unique instead of like just doing the issuance and just shipping a coin and, GGs if you're early and GGs if you're not. I want to see a world where, we have like this Cato type of environment where people were talking about ICM like you guys should be getting allocations. Like you guys should be getting like whitelists for shit. You guys should be getting airdrops for covering this stuff. Like that's really how ecosystems get built. And a lot of that's lacking here, but
hey, we are open to all those opportunities. So if you are watching this, you're thinking, hey, we're a great product. Actually, that's kind of like, kind of where not necessarily we want to take the show, but I think we want to bring great products to people. And part of that is kind of like Bankless really innovated this. The
100%.
Pomp show innovated this, where they took allocation to things like Arbitrum and a lot of those big Ethereum building blocks, and Pomp for Bitcoin. But yeah,
it's all about alignment, right? At the end of the day,
Mhm.
It's about alignment. That's why I didn't start a marketing agency, called ICM.Run, where I just profit max out every project that comes through. It's about creating and sharing the value. That's like all crypto is. That's why it's a DAO in the first place. It has to be like a shared value mindset. Despite public sentiment about Cato and my current sentiment that it's slop, it is the future, and it is going to continue to expand that way, where people are just going to track who has the highest impact, the highest type of market share impact per niche category. So I think ICM is going to be one of those exemplary places where in the future you guys might not see it this way, but the way I see it is MCG show literally might be the same value as going public on NASDAQ in the next 6 months to a year, because this trading base is only getting bigger. You know what I mean? For the appetite for this.
I think that's a great point. I mean, one reason we really wanted to dive into ICM specifically is just because we could see the future expanding at such a rapid pace. I think that's probably why we're so forward looking with ICM.Run. But one thing I want to mention is you had talked about some of the advisors you have. I think maybe outside of Believe and maybe including Believe, you've probably built out the most robust pipeline when it comes to ICM in general. Like the connections
100%.
and people you have is just like mind blowing. Watching the list drop like every day or two of the new people you brought on was insane. How did you do that?
Gentlemen, I've just been here. I've been your dev's dev for a long time. I've been in the space for a long time. I have been behind so many projects shipping. I never shipped my own. I've been blessed to help Seedify ship. I've been blessed to be interacting with Send AI in the last launchpad I was working in. I've been blessed to work with these companies, and let me tell you, I didn't work to make a lot of money doing that those times. I was just a little wagey bag worker like the rest of us out here, boys. I don't come from the silver spoon. I worked for my dollars, and I built a lot of relationships just working. I just worked a lot. I did a lot of marketing strategy. I did a lot of go to market. I worked at Animoca for a little bit. I advised all their subsidiaries. I've just held a lot of jobs in crypto because the truth is, in 2022 and 2023, you didn't hold a job in this space for like longer than 90 days because the turnover during 2022 and 2023
it's still like that.
It still is, for sure. So if you hold like some type of, I would say, mid-level quality, and I would say marketing in crypto is mid-level. It's not very highly regarded. Truthfully, there's a lot of marketers here, and that's the truth. It's very commoditized. So if you're like a marketer, you do end up kind of like running from the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, and and you end up hovering around teams that are doing that, like Launchpad. So that's why I have a lot of relationships with them, frankly. And they're like the legacy Launchpads, right? Like, Dreadsong, his background was like DAO maker. Like, we were talking about like legacy Launchpads, like like this stuff and all this infrastructure has existed for a long time. Mostly what we have for those Launchpads, though, are like extremely Web3 products or some Web3 mixed with Web2 components, right? And what ICM is, it's like direct Web2 to Web3, right? So really, there's just a few gaps there that need to get filled, and it's not much. It's frankly surprising. It's clear to me every Launchpad sees that this is it, and every single Launchpad now is going to rush to this with their unique take. I don't know which Launchpad right now is going to be the 6 billion market cap Launchpad in like a year to 2 years from now, but we definitely will find out in the next 2 to 3 months. And ICM will be Launchpad agnostic for the most part. We will not stay committed to any particular Launchpad. We're going to choose the ecosystem that is best for the team every single time that we can. We're going to be very selfish in that way.
We had Vibu on, who gave the Solana Foundation, or I should say his interpretation of ICM, but he works at Solana Foundation, which is taking existing capital markets, bringing it onto Solana, and offering those financial products. And I have a fly on my screen, sorry. Offering those financial products basically on Solana, using Solana as the infrastructure layer, the future NASDAQ, let's say. But those are not necessarily, and maybe I want to contrast that, Mercy, with your definition, how you kind of see it, maybe a little bit different.
Yeah, so this is right now, it's like this is like a bleeding edge philosophical debate. Nobody's right, because if everybody was right, by the way, everyone would just do what worked, but nobody knows what works. So everybody's just expressing.
He went from a skeptic to a little bit more of a believer during our interaction between him being on the belief space.
I would say that me and him are like 20% on the same page, and that's a-okay. Unironically, I recently found out that we both grew up from around the same area, which I thought was very interesting. But it was funny. We did have a call. And I did listen to him on Spaces, and I won't share anything that we spoke about on the call. But what I'll say is that he's an example of somebody that I feel similarly about. How I shared a space with somebody last night, actually, who feels their way about SF in San Francisco being the most important place for startups. And that really just comes down to like a vantage point perspective that they're coming from, because that's like where they built as a startup. But if we're talking about private equity market at large, they're completely wrong on the total size and the value of the private markets outside of those areas. So in my opinion, I just look at more of like the small to medium sized startup market at large is probably the largest opportunity. People entering into software probably is also the next best bet, which is vibe coding as well. So where people are going to enter into the space. And those are just where I pay attention and where to attention markets are for founders. Now, their perspective is like, for example, Bubu, I don't want to speak for him, but when he shares his opinions, how I feel, not how I know, how I feel about what he's sharing, is it feels like he wants something like Securitize on Solana, or even Echo which is Kobe's launchpad on Solana, which, by the way, I agree with and I am for. I'm not a consumer of those products, so I can't necessarily really, push for that particular market segment and build on that bleeding edge. The world that I want to see, to paint it as clearly as possible, and this is not the world I'm painting, but the world I want to see painted, and I want to contribute to it being painted, is a world where you log onto a platform that's completely non-KYC. You or any group of people can formulate a community, a group, a DAO, and get opportunities to investing into early stage ICM teams based on your historical performance. I want, anybody should be able to spin up a fund, a group together, and be able to make these types of investments and make bets on them. And then new prospective ICM teams that want to launch should be able to see you and all the other communities and groups of people who've done these types of investments, pre-sale advisory, whatever it looks like, to be able to decide which are the best teams for me. I hope that we have thousands of ICM.Run spin up. And I think that is the probably the next iteration, is these types of on-chain teams that, know how to work for their bags, for lack of better words, really know how to tokenize and bring product to market.
So Mercy, in simple terms, if you had to give a one-liner or a couple lines on what is ICM.Run, can you tell the people what is ICM.Run? What are you guys doing?
We're going to be incubating internet capital markets projects on Solana. 80% will be new prospective teams tokenizing for the first time. 20% will be infrastructure. And infrastructure could be trading terminals. It could be just products and use cases to display the value that ICM has, essentially, whatever that looks like, and the different components that contains. And I guess in short, and I know I can't probably put this in a few sentences, and I never have, for what it's worth, because it's really hard to summarize something that's actively being described. We're on this bleeding edge right now of tokenized startups. We don't know what's going to be here long term, but ICM.Run, to the mentors and contributors of it, while we will do our bang up job on the 30 projects that we incubate at most during this time period, it's really about creating a watering hole where people who are actively working in internet capital markets have the best opportunity and exposure to the next best technology and infrastructure that comes out of this acceleration. And the thesis is we don't know what it will be yet, but I think during the length of the DAO, since we'll all actively be contributing to current and new projects tokenizing, it'll kind of give us a very fast head start of understanding of what will be culturally relevant in a year. But you can't really do that unless if you're playing armchair, opinion, and this is not to say you guys are armchair opinion, but because I know you guys play very active roles. I know how much
my chair does have arms,
with all this
though,
stuff. So. But you understand what I mean by armchair, right? It means you're not taking an active contributor role to building on it, right? And that's what this DAO really will be about, uniting the people who are aligned for a brighter future for ICM. And I'm not promising to launch 30 billion market cap projects with this incubator, but I promise to be always working on ICM the entire time and all the time. And that's
this guy's why I got into this narrative so much, is because I was just sick of trading memes and just crypto financial products. To see a Kled and Viva and some of these major ones come through is really encouraging. And I think that's ultimately from the laws changing in the US and the mindset changing in the US around this kind of stuff. Is that kind of what a trader should think about, or someone who's investing in these types of projects when they come to ICM.Run? Are they thinking hey, look, I'm getting a look at real businesses and real opportunity to earn a return?
That's a good question. I think my goal when people are coming for ICM.Run, I just want them to know that we're the ones writing the script. It doesn't necessarily mean that every project we incubate and come through here is just going to be this AAA, GameStop level size company that we tokenize on chain. There's going to be a variety of pretty boring projects that we tokenize that I think to retail markets might be pretty boring. But the cool thing about this, though, is that we'll be experimenting a lot with tokenomics and launchpad use cases during this time period, which is something we want to innovate a lot on during this time. So, for example, the type of products that we probably will be focused on will be likely legacy internet brands that you probably grew up with. There's a really great hedge fund that we partnered with through one of our mentors, Stud Home, that owns a pretty large stake or all stake in some pretty popular Web2 high revenue.
You say Doug
generating
Poke? Doug, the poker player?
No, Mark Studholme.
Okay, that first part.
Yeah, Stud Home. He's one of the mentors. He's absolute legend too, man, in the space. He's like an absolute shipper. Dude's an absolute monster. He's probably one of my favorite mentors in this ecosystem just because he has he's like probably one of the few mentors in the ecosystem that's like a really strong institutional Web2 background, private markets background, right? He was a part of some pretty important like accelerators early on that I think are like very culturally relevant still today. And I think a lot of times people like really quick to judge. You know, we're so privileged right now. We're quick to judge like the VC and startup ecosystem, not in the U.S. But people think just because SF has like shipped some really great products that like other countries haven't either, and that's just so far not the case. But yeah, I'm very excited to experiment with that. There's some good stuff that can come out of that.
So you're essentially like you're building out the future of ICM as it stands now in the present moment. ICM doesn't have
Correct.
like a definition that it doesn't have like a solid identity definition. It's a little bit fluid, right? Like it's different depending on who's looking at it. But just for the audience to understand, you're building out this future. You're experimenting with tokenizing with different companies, but you're doing it with basically the Avengers. You've assembled a sort of Avengers to kind of.
There's a lot of odd use cases, right? There's like so many like nuanced situations, right? Like, what do you say to somebody? Here's a good question for you. Like, who's the right mentor for like, like let's say like the history fucking channel decides they want to tokenize, right? They're going to tokenize an ICM. Like that's 100% where they're going to tokenize. They're not going to tokenize like launch a L1. You know what I mean? Like these types of brands are 100% going to tokenize here, right? In this space. And I'm not saying we're going to go after legacy celebrity brands. I'm not promising History Channel, but that's why even when we select our mentors, I chose someone like Sander. Sander is the founder of Killer Whales. He has a lot of experience when it comes to like Web3 IP and building out like attention that exists within like the crypto sphere, like exclusively. He's like the closest thing to like wrecked brands we have on our team for someone who's shipped really strong IP. Secondly, we also have Web3 Adam, also former Pudgy Penguins. You will see a lot of probably the Pudgy Penguin cabal in our contributor ecosystem. And there's a reason for that because those teams have a lot of experience with shipping IP and Web3. Like these teams have just been here doing this type of stuff for so incredibly long that if like just like a Web2 founder could get like 10 minutes of each of these guys' time to like tweak a few things, adjust rollout, adjust timing. Frank said it really good. Like the 3 T's, like you have to really like focus on like organizing that timing so good. So this way you don't like, miss those opportunities and miss those levers. It does feel like a bit like of a mad science, though, honestly.
Timing, tokenomics. What's the third T?
Brother, I really was hoping you weren't going to ask me that. I'm not going to lie. It sounded so good on the space, but I was like, fuck, what was the
Timing, tokenomics, tribalism.
Yeah, well.
Sure. We'll take it.
Doesn't work great, but it works good enough, right?
100%. I never promised to be the smartest guy in the room at all, guys. I promise to work hard. It's like I promise to work hard and always be honest.
That's awesome, man. Well, I think they say you're supposed to always be the dumbest in the room if you can be, and that's a pretty good thing to strive for because then you're standing amongst giants, right?
Yeah, I definitely left curve most things.
You're getting a cack in the chat too, which is funny.
But I want to figure out how I can be a part of ICM.Run. People want to know how they can be a part of ICM.Run.
Timing, tokenomics, tech, of course.
Oh, come on, tech. That was so obvious, guys. Between the four of us, we couldn't come up with tech.
Jesus. Yeah, W's for Ozaru in the chat.
Yeah, he might have to get a little reward for that. So let's talk about how we can get get introduced to ICM.Run, how we can be a part of it. When I say we, I mean everyone listening. And also, before we do that, I want to also tease like this giveaway we got going on. Mercy, can you kind of tell everyone what we're giving away and what we're going to do? Because over the course of the rest of the show, we're going to be looking out for the chat, some of the OG people who have been tuning in, and we got some stuff to give you guys. So Mercy, you want to tell everyone what we're giving away and what it does, what it means?
Hell yeah. So I guess like at a high level, DAO's fun, DAO's world. I won't say for DAO's world. I just say for DAO's fun because I have the exposure of it. There's like a bit of a culture of like whitelisting anyone. You can go on DAO's Fund and look at some of the leaderboard DAOs, and you can actually go and see what their whitelist rounds were like, and you can see how many pages and how many people they onboarded. Most DAOs that launch on DAO's Fund, in most cases, are going to have like hundreds, if not thousands, of people into the DAO. And I've run incubators and I've run accelerators. This DAO, I intend to be very tight. At the moment, there's only 20 mentor slots, and they're basically full. I probably could maybe squeeze someone in, like really squeeze someone in, and might even have to boot someone out to pull that off. And the contributor side's also very, very, very full too. We got very lucky because I've been building this space for a long time. I really didn't have to like market to fill this. I already knew who was here. I've been keeping up with you guys for a long time. That's why I offered you guys to join as contributors as well. This is not like some false advertisement. These guys, I asked to be contributors of this DAO because they're important culturally to ICM, incredibly important to ICM, which is why like everyone who's tuning in here from ICM.Run like needs to listen to the show. Like whether I'm here or not, if you're interested in ICM, like this
drop
is
your tickers in the replies always, guys. Come on.
100%. Like this is a bag working type of fucking.
This is a bag working live stream. Last week we called just calls. No.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess like because of that, I also am not aware that like there's an amazing community of people who want to learn about ICM. There's a lot of people who want to contribute to this conversation. There's also a mass ecosystem of whales and traders that have been here for a very, very long time. And I also want to make sure they get exposure. So we are doing a completely free mint. The date is not currently set just yet, but we are eyeing for end of this week at the earliest, and we're currently planning for that drop. And the only way you can get whitelisted currently, I posted it on ICM.Run, was to get in the first 2 phases initially. So you had to be like a really early member of our community, or you had to be a part of the last OG snapshot that we posted up on our X. Both of those are completely full. So if you didn't contribute to either of those things at all, you now have one last opportunity, and that's becoming like, being an active ICM trader. So if you're tuning into this show, we're offering out, these gentlemen are going to offer out some NFTs. We're giving them full reign to make sure they select their most earliest listeners, earliest viewers, and their loudest members as well, the most loudest. If you're making noise on the timeline, they got a PFP.
That's right.
So just make sure like this is not just one of those things where you guys like farm a PFP off MCG show. Like this thing is going to be a lot bigger. And I think one of the things I really like doing, and the reason why I wanted to do this PFP drop, is because if you create good, really healthy tokenomics, you can account for airdropping. And one of the first things that we'll be doing with this PFP drop is we'll be also offering out airdrops from the projects that we incubate, the ones that we're able to, essentially. I'm not promising all 30 projects are all airdropping and changing everybody's life, but we will come up with a community rollout strategy that has every single project have, if not airdrop, claimable tokens. And the difference between the two is airdrops goes to your wallet, you do nothing. Claimable means you have to pay attention and you like go to a website, connect your wallet, and claim. I just want to communicate that so there's like, no misconceptions. I know that those things get really finicky when you get down to the wire. So
and Mercy, let's be clear as to why you think airdrops are valuable, because you mentioned it earlier how aligning incentives is so important. Why do you want a community of bag workers and people that are entrenched in the ICM space to be the ones getting these NFTs and then being able to have a claim on some of these projects at launch?
And in reality, it's just new projects are joining the space. They don't know where these traders are. You know what I mean? They don't know where the hell to find them, right? Like I spoke to one of our earliest contributors. He had built a really cool. I was playing with Dune with Believe very early on. I started building out a dashboard so I could track trading activity, track traders that are repeat ICM traders. And I started kind of getting a thesis from this. And I met somebody else that was doing the same thing. He actually was way more ahead of me at the time. Like I'm okay with querying data, but this dude was cracked. He basically built an entire system that allowed you to essentially ensure that you could airdrop to like the most active ICM traders. And Cupsy was on the list, boys. Like I'm not trying to like deny the fact, like it goes to everybody's on the list. If you're showing up to class, you're on the list, right? But also like there needs to be more ways as well to be able to like align people. So PFPs allow us to make sure that like we really track who's a part of this community and who's around. If you've followed any cultural airdrop PFPs before, that free mints for these types of things usually leads to people doing accumulation. I'm not trying to market this PFP drop for like this over accumulation scenario, but I can just say that we will be airdropping to it, and 1% of the DAO will be fractionalized across the entire.
I gotta throw up the original free claim PFP ever to exist, the CryptoPunks. Yes, I was there in 2017.
Legendary, bros. Legendary. Back was called Crypto Art. Good times. Dude, yeah. So that's the thesis behind it, and we're basically whitelisting out more than 80% of the supply. There will be a 20%, or roughly 20%, maybe a little less public supply that'll be publicly mintable. I do want to create room. I'm like not the kind of I'm the kind of guy who's like ship coins to know like secondary market success is like the best indicator for a project success. So like you have to have successful early buyers. You can't have people fucking buying early and fucking getting shat on. So I really want to create like a healthy market, and I want to make sure that like this DAO only serves to collect 1 to 5% of the supply of each project we incubate. That's it. And every single mentor who's aligned with this is not changing their lives. This is not like doing anything for them that's going to like, financially incentivize them to be here just for that. They're really here just to be a part of like the bleeding edge of ICM. And our way to make sure that we're incentivizing the community to pay attention to what we're doing is just by giving the value back out. So anything we accumulate, anything that we do with projects to essentially launch, anything beyond that, we're just going to offer out as rewards or as airdrops out to the PFP holders. And that's our best way we can essentially align people with the DAO, and also not create this scenario where we have whales aping into the DAO and suddenly they're annoying mentors about updates. Why hasn't this mentor tweeted this coin yet? Those types of scenarios that are just unavoidable if you create a melting pot of everybody in one house.
So Mercy, I want to just kind of summarize everything that we've discussed so people understand the opportunity here. So you created this kind of, let's call it, platform for real projects that are launching in the ICM narrative to come and master the 3 T's: tokenomics, timing, and technology through you guys. And then members of this DAO get early access to those opportunities. And then boom, the show goes kind of, I don't want to say public, but the tokens then launch. And then there's this kind of day one community, which I'll contrast that with like Dupe and some of the early ICM projects on Believe. They launched and it was kind of just chaos after that. And it was like building the plane as we're going. But what you're saying is let's get organized, let's get focused, and then bring these projects to market correctly. And this DAO, these are the early people that are going to help make that happen.
I hope if you take anything away from this, all of you, is that look at how I'm rolling this out as a reflection of how I intend to roll anything out we incubate. It's always about just like going grassroots first, starting with culture. It's always that. You have to leave cultural ties. You have to communicate to the people who've been here that you understand them. And like that's really everything in this space. That's every product you roll out in this space. It's that way, right? Like if you think of like every Alliance product that's shipped, it's always about like making sure the people who matter are seen and felt known. And if you guys take anything away, that every project we incubate, like we do plan to like do a lot of pre-rollout, a lot of pre-TGE rollout type of stuff to help them essentially kind of get initial feedback, like test the gauntlet. You know what I mean? Some of these founders aren't ready for this shit. Like most people don't know. If you've never shipped a token in this space, it's like new issue day at fucking Wolf of Wall Street, but for like literally like 72 hours. And if you've never experienced that, people will know very fast.
Yeah, and bots extract in the first 3 candles, and the real ICM community is just distribution on like almost all these charts too. So like I like this flips it a little bit.
Yeah, it's honestly, again, I say it a lot. I don't want to sound harsh because I understand like a lot of these Web2 founders are just trying to innovate. I get it, but it's honestly amateur hour. Right? Like I can, and look, I'm only putting myself out there launching a coin to show that I know what the hell I'm doing, that like I feel confident about the way I would roll out a token. And I hope that that's just a reflection of that. That's really all it comes down to, right? And the mentors I chose are people who ship tokens like every other week. CDFI is behind so many launches. Sendai has been so many launches. These teams have been behind so many different product launches. And there's even people in this DAO that you'll see on the mentor list that you don't even hear me talk much about. You should really pay attention to those people for sure. Like check the mentor list. And if you haven't seen me shill them, you should definitely be paying attention to what the hell they're doing. That's all I'm going to say. There's a few mentors that are like really leading this stuff right now, low-key. And yeah, like honestly, like there's a few mentors that I can't even really shill too much on the timeline that are just really fucking rewriting the code of this shit right now. And
I think
it's going to be some
dude, I think it's been very clear. Your rollout, even of just ICM.Run, has been like a masterclass. I mean, the art, the community you've built, just everything from top to bottom has been done, I would say, pretty much perfectly. So if we can expect a similar rollout for the projects you're incubating as well, I mean, that's something exciting to look forward to. But real quick again, so guys, when you're in the comments for this, when you're retweeting the spaces, mentioning on X, we got maybe 10 to 20 whitelists for those NFTs to push out during the show, guys. So again, those people we typically see, you know, like Fabian, Yara, Starseed, you know, Ave, we want to get you guys some of those whitelists. So be commenting when we see your name pop up, you know, your activity, we will highlight you guys and write you down, and we'll get your wallets for this whitelist and send it over to Mercy. So keep
Mercy
active for the rest of the
yeah.
game.
would it help if we kind of somewhat a little bit curate it within our community, or
100%.
just want
They're yours to
random,
do
like,
whatever you
you know, viewers? Because we have some people that show up, right?
Yeah.
And then
Kish.
I know this sounds kind of lame, but I'm not so like, I'm not trying to oversell the NFTs. It's really actually just about getting them in the hands of people I know who should be a part of this. Because I can't put everybody in the DAO. It would just dilute everything. It's like not the thickest LP launch pad. So there's like kind of thinner LP on DAO fund launches. So I also don't want to create this like tremendous insecurity from not everyone knowing each other. You know what I mean? A lot of insecurity comes from these DAO launches, comes from the fact that there's just too many people that don't know each other. And like one thing I work really hard on with this DAO is like connecting the people. You guys are part of the contributor chat. You guys can see who's there and trying to be there. It's people that you know care about ICM, you know, and like that's like who we're really trying to attract with the DAO. The PFP collection is for everyone who's like ICM adjacent, traders, bag workers, like, you know, like people create sticker packs. Like these people are really important for the space and like really key and like are what make this whole space possible. And the PFP collection will be there to reward those types of users.
I
Awesome.
love the culture first approach, man. It really shows your intentions, and it's also really it's just a good place to start. It's all about community, right? At the end of the day, you've assembled a really good community from a mentor standpoint, and you know I think this for making sure that the PFPs go out to those who actually care about ICM is really important too, and the way you're going about it is actually really awesome, really dope, man.
I really appreciate that, guys. And, you know, honestly, frankly, I started it assuming you guys were going to be down to be a part of it. And I actually didn't even really approach you guys until like I was kind of like 3/4 of the way of my rollout. I was like, oh shit. I even had to go contact William because like me and him had just done so much stuff together that like it wasn't even an afterthought to me. I already just like in my head assumed I had the combo with you guys because I just been honestly, this started as such like a passion project. Started just from the heart, just me and a few friends, a few smart people. Project Crypto dropped and this shit blew up. Everybody I hit up that ghosted me just hit me back like day one. And it kind of got it like a lot more legs than I was initially anticipating for it, which is also why I don't want to overmarket it either. Like my main focus is really to incubate great projects. And I think that the reflection of the value of this DAO is just going to come from the reflection of like how great we can bring projects to market, you know what I mean? And create value with them, you know, and how we can like help them be a part of this culture of ICM. You know what I mean? Like make sure we're choosing teams that really like people would be excited, you know, to be backing, you know, like there's some really good products that have applied for the DAO already, by the way. I can't leak a single one of them because like the mentors haven't selected them yet. But like, gentlemen, there's like over like close to 80 now. Like we had like over 16 just in the last day that applied. And a lot of them are like Web2 founders. And it's pretty funny. A lot of them are like, they have a founder friend that launched. There's a lot of them right now. They're like, wow. I had a friend that launched and it's like paying attention. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty interesting. Like it's gonna get nuts.
This is hot. We are writing people down that are in our chat, that are in our replies, that have supported the show. We are gonna somewhat curate this. So, you know, get in the replies. Obviously, gotta follow the show. If we go and search up your ex and you're not following the show, instant.
Bro, don't be not following the show.
Also, like active in chat, like Kish has been there, Fabian's been there.
Fabian, you got
There's been guys who have literally ran with us since like April, since you know 1600 ETH calls, and we're there OGs. So, anyways, just letting you know that like, yeah, this is where we're looking for people.
Yes, and Fabian, we got you with one there, so I got your name written down. We'll maybe I want to make sure we get their handles and stuff so we can get it to them. But We'll get you those PFPs, Fabian. We got you. Mercy, one thing I want to kind of talk to you about and just pick your brain on is, you were bullish ICM before ICM.Run, obviously, but how has your opinion shifted, grown conviction wise since starting ICM.Run? Now that you're seeing these projects just really get hungry to launch a token and be incubated through ICM.Run, how has that grown your conviction?
Brother, I'm just the same as day one. Honestly, like I've been unwavering this entire time. I've been just as like retardedly excited about this as I've been since the start. I just feel like the whole market was wrong. I put the post out, the whole market's wrong about ICM. I put that shit out back in like June. I meant every fucking word of it, and I meant that shit when I said it, and I still feel the exact same way. I still think people are wrong. I still think people assume this ICM thing is just this little old thing that's just going to be here and be gone because the way it exists right now isn't perfect, right? Gentlemen, there is this entire institutional capital side that loves this shit. They love this shit and they're completely sidelined. All it's going to take is someone to launch a launch pad that caters to both parties, retail and institutional, and non-KYC. And I know that there's going to be people who will say, oh, like they'll go to jail. Well, fuck it. Let them go to jail. Like at the end of the day, I don't think that's how a lot of people feel, Like I think a lot of people are just saying, let's just do this publicly. The SEC's hosting in-person events. One that I'll be at actually, likely with Avi. I'm talking in DMs to him right now. Likely would be there in person, and I will likely be advocating for exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it and why it's so important, right? You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that, like, if we talk about tokenized equity, it doesn't mean that just because you have a token, you get to claim the equity. It means you have the token. That means you have the claimable equity. It'd be as if you won a fucking car and you're too young to acquire it. Whoever next you'd have to give that token to somebody else who could acquire it. You know what I mean? And like, there's the really easy ways you can connect these things. But people honestly play this academic think boy side of this world that's just so fucking annoying because they love to overthink shit because they get paid to fucking think a lot. That frankly, they've just never played the playbook all the way through. Half these people never gone through.
Yeah, they're old SEC doomers, bro. Like
Brother,
old
yes,
SEC
100%.
doomers.
I'm former XRPL. I built on the XRP ledger, gentlemen. Like I've had calls with Brad Garlinghouse.
This is personal for Mercy.
I super hate the SEC. I think I hate the SEC more than anybody.
If anyone remembers, Ken, they were like the first token on Solana. They got sued by the SEC, Kick Messenger, and like, bro, those folks on those calls with the judge, like praying that the judge would rule in our favor. Like, man,
I was there for all of it, brother. Same. I was there for all of it, and dude, like I like U.S. crypto law, that famous XRP account. Like we're in DMs. I've had spaces with them. But dude, so I guess what I'm really trying to say is that I have a thesis. I'm betting on that thesis. There's a lot of other theses, and I'll be betting on those theses too. I actually really am not 1,000% sure what is going to be like the multi-billion-dollar protocol in 6 years, but I'll keep saying it. We'll know. We'll know.
How do you predict something like that, dude? Again, 3 months ago, we weren't having these conversations. 3 months from now, it's going to be a whole different environment from a regulatory standpoint and everything. And so, like, yeah, you can't predict. You kind of just got to be there and be present. And
it's about access to deal flow, gentlemen. If we're getting down to the boiled down about, like, if we're keeping it real and like we're not trying to, like, gate anything, it's about access to deal flow. If you want access to the watering hole, you have to create the watering hole. Believe Big Brains was a watering hole. It's just a place for me to learn from other people and connect with people I know who are aligned. ICM.Run, it really isn't so much that much more different. The difference is it's an actioning group aligned towards a mission, and then we're all going to work on something together. So there's this alignment factor, but it's also going to create those really world-class investment opportunities that come from being aligned with it that ICM.Run might not invest in. But because you guys are part of the water hole, you guys might find out about the next securitize that's on Solana and get your 0.1 Solana into the multi-billion-dollar market cap pre-sale. And that's not going to happen publicly. It's not going to be in a public domain. It's not going to be in a public conversation. It's going to be in a private room full of people that are trying to find the most aligned people because they believe in like what they're building and believe in what they're doing. And I do believe those opportunities will come through ICM.Run. They already are. Many of them I can't even entertain for ICM.Run because they're trying to activate before the DAO even goes live, which is why we have to create this post-TGE model too for the DAO for some projects I really think should go through it. Through our incubator because it's just so relevant to what we're doing. But there's going to be so much cool stuff. So you asked like, how will it come about? In the next 2 or 3 months, it won't come about like to retail. It's just going to come out to people who are actively building in that ecosystem. So the private opportunity, like the trade of this fucking of our lives, might be available in 2 to 3 months, but it won't be available to the public. It'll be available to people who are staying close in their nose to the ground, where ICM is being actively developed, and keeping their philosophical opinions to themselves and keeping their expectations to themselves, and being open-minded to see what people accelerate. Very similar to how AI accelerated too as well. It's going to move very quick.
So people are just going to see the world changing around them on crypto Twitter, and then we're all just involved and they're just living it. They're just seeing it.
I think that a lot of people in this space don't think for themselves, and that's okay. That's the world. I think they're following people they like and respect that likely have maybe made them money, or they just want to be close to. So it ends up creating a bit of like a hive mind effect that sometimes it's not always good to bet on like what crypto Twitter bets on. And I don't. And then like, you know, I think crypto Twitter is right about a lot of things, but they've also been historically very wrong. And, you know, the way it's going to likely look is for people like you and me and the people who are paying attention to ICM.Run, it'll look like a really amazing opportunity that's going to get whispered around to a lot of people. And a lot of people aren't going to be bull posting on the timeline until it's a public company or it's like a really public market cap. And I think there's going to be some really amazing investment opportunities that come through that. Now, the way the retail will find out about it is when JCPenney tokenizes their fucking equity on the launchpad that we all invested in 6 months ago, you know, and that's how it was essentially reached this oh fuck moment. But the opportunities now, if you're an investor, a trader, a builder, the window of opportunity to be a part of those opportunities are like currently right now.
Well, and let's be clear too, because I think there could be some misconstrued messaging there. Like people will have access to this stuff. There will be a secondary market for these projects outside of just the DAO getting, you know, like the bonding curve or whatever you want to call it. But, you know, can you specify that a little bit? You're saying this inside group or, you know, inner group, internal group will have access to this maybe before the public has access, but there will be a market for the public too.
Quite simply put, ICM.Run will only be to incubate 30 projects. There's already 75 that have applied. Many of them are good enough to come through this incubator. Maybe only a few I would say probably don't have a shot. You know, very little I feel that way about, right? So what happens when we're incubating a project and a project approaches us saying, hey, you know, your community is very aligned with what we're doing. We're looking for this type of trader base. Like the ecosystem for ICM you built is really relevant to us, but we're pre-TGE and we're like doing a early stage capital raise for equity for our business first, right? Let's say that opportunity comes around. ICM.Run isn't legally set up to make those opportunities prevalent to the DAO directly, but those opportunities will be 100% shared with mentors and contributors privately to be able to get exposure to those opportunities. Now, while we can't guarantee you're always selected, it's really just about staying close to the watering hole for those types of opportunities. And I'm not saying every opportunity come to us is going to be about like an equity IPO opportunity or anything along the lines of that, but you know, it probably helps to know about a launch pad that's at 20 followers, that's backed by some really good people early, so you can pay attention to it, lock in, do your research, find out ways you can get on board with that team. ICM.Run is only going to ever take 1 to 5% of the supply of any project, 1% if it's a short runway, 5% if it's a really long runway. Like it's going to take them a long time to go to market, you know? That's always just depends on like resources and how big the project will be. So, you know, and when I mean that it's going to be available to the DAO and the PFP, we'll share those opportunities around our entire ecosystem. You know what I mean? And, you know, when it comes to, when I speak about like these, what I'm really referring to is something called like infrastructure, right? There's a lot of infrastructure protocol opportunities, right? People had a chance to invest in Dingling's launchpad. People had a chance to invest in a lot of these different launchpads, right? And my goal is that when new launchpads get created on mostly Solana, but shit, even other chains, I want to make sure that those opportunities become available to the people who are contributing to this DAO. Because we'll be in a very active
Okay,
group.
and tell us how the DAO makes money, right? Is it a set amount of time? Are you going to liquidate at some point? You're going to get 1 to 5% of these projects that incubate through you guys. Just explain that process.
It's a strictly treasury building model. There's zero liquidation. So essentially what occurs is that we acquire 1 to 5% of all 30 incubated projects. At the end of the DAO, those tokens are distributed out to the mentors, contributors cleanly. There will be, our goal is to make it a 6-month DAO, but there'll be a vote among the mentors and contributors. At the 6-month point, we can all decide to either liquidate at that stage, or we can continue going, essentially. So there'll be like DAO votes and governance stages led by Dreadsong, the general manager. He'll be leading those votes and organizing them. It's all organized autonomously, automatically through DAO's funds portal. So you're able to log in with your wallet, make a vote. You know what I mean? Do we want to end this early here, liquidate the DAO? Do we want to continue forward, going forward to it? And that's strictly how it works. The optimistic scenario is we incubate some world-class ICM projects that absolutely chart, absolutely proliferate the space with attention. And we can create this amazing point where we distribute this treasury out to the people who wrote the code or wrote the framework for ICM in the way it exists now, right? That's the optimistic outlook, essentially. Now, the long-term outlook for me is to test the thesis, innovate where be part of the innovation where it's being innovated. And if all goes well, I'll probably start some form of syndicated venture capital firm after this, where it's a more traditional VC, where we'll be making earlier stager bets on teams and doing other forms of legally compliant equities distribution through tokenization, which is essentially what we want to learn about while we're building ICM.Run, so we can legally structure something to be able to do that more long-term as well. And there's a lot of teams interested in this that aren't just your standard Web2 startups. There's currently 2 Web2 hedge funds that we're speaking to right now that have a Web3 background and have a Web3 portfolio that are seeking to acquire equity or majority stake equity in startups, take over their company, tokenize the company, use the liquidity to buy new equity in new companies. And I know that's like a very early stage. It's like a very early conversation. There's more holes than there's like flat rock there, right? There's more holes to fall into the black rock, but really all it comes down to saying is that we're at this really weird inflection stage right now where ICM is going to expand on a lot of fronts, and it might not expand on all the fronts that Axiom tracks either. And that's A-OK too.
Are you having venture capitalists talk to you guys about, tokenizing like a quarter of their portfolio or something?
Not only are we have contracts, and second, some of them are contributors in the DAO already. Yes. Mark Studholm is currently leading a relationship with 2 Web2 hedge funds that were discussing tokenizing their startups as well. The only missing framework piece that we're at the final leg of right now is legal, but we're not that far behind. I mean, it'll be finished before the DAO's live, essentially. And that's seems to be the last moving piece. But we're pretty lucky. Autonomous has agreed to come on board as a contributor. Autonomous is literally writing the rules and rule book right now around tokenized equity. They're a really phenomenal team that a team you guys know is working with. Likely, I'm not leaking any names, but is working with to come up with their tokenized equity strategy. So there's a lot of good things that'll come out of this. But like I said, 2 to 3 months, gentlemen, and we'll know for sure. It'll be obvious by then.
Can I just double click mechanically how this works? So Venture Fund has a really great private, let's say, startup in their portfolio. They say, hey, here's the amount of shares that we hold as the venture fund for our LPs. You guys are basically saying, okay, we'll take that, tokenize it, then launch it on Solana. But it's not like the Believe fair launch where it starts at a low market cap and then bonding curves itself up. It's being issued at a certain price that who sets? Is that the VC fund is setting that price, or are you guys set a
price? Yes. So this is a funny conversation. I know exactly what you're asking. The shorter answer is that already has such a history behind it that you don't even have to do a lot of guesswork for that.
Right.
Really what it is, it's about access to those opportunities. And those are pre-sales, what you're describing. Right. Bonding curve as a mechanic is not the only mechanic for token issuance. DAOs exist. There's so many different ways to do token issuance. And there's so many different ways you can do it that are fair, completely transparent. If you really want to see a great example, MetaDAO is a great example. Profit's a contributor in this DAO for a reason too. He's very aligned with ICM as well. And it's funny, man. There's a lot of ways of looking at it. I'm trying to be careful with my words because at this stage we're at right now, we're at this. You've been cutting at this thing for months, and it's at the last string. And if you speak too soon, you don't want to fuck it up.
No, totally.
Part of me wants to keep my mouth shut and let the universe work its magic because it's unfolding beautifully. Let me tell you guys, I started ICM.Run before Project Crypto, and I sort of was okay with going to prison. I know it sounds harsh, but I did this prior Project Crypto.
Just you and Avi in the cell,
Yeah, I know. I was kind of well, this could
Game
get
planning.
me grandfathered into prison. So.
Rubbing shoulders with Sam Bankman.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Wouldn't be the first
time.
But
real talk, look, we want good quality private market companies because look what happened to Figma. Great private market company. Everyone loved it. Finally went public, raised at $30 a share to Figma. The bankers ran it up to $90 a share, sold it to the public, went to $130 in after hours, and today it's trading at $70 or some shit like that. You know who's buying the bags is retail investors, and I hate it. I hate it. I love to see private companies giving access through this mechanism to earlier in their life cycle. And you know what? Let the public figure it out. There's tons of smart, talented people on X that do this type of fundamental research that can figure out, what CLED should be really valued at, and then can kind of make the market early before the investment bankers like get a handle on it. So, that's just my spiel.
No, we're very aligned with a lot of what you're sharing. I think, a lot of the projects that we're going to incubate, I think are going to seem obvious when we bring them to market. I hope that that's the case. I think ICM.Run will probably be the most obscure launch you see me associated with this entire time, probably. I think this is the only thing that actually will be properly obscure and new, and that's kind of by design, right? But most of the projects that we launch and we bring to market, I hope you've heard of them. That's teams we'll work with, or teams you've heard of, ideally. And if you haven't heard of them, you should be very, very familiar with like what they do very quickly. It shouldn't be much of a thought that goes into figuring out why they're launching a token.
Mercy.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what we're missing right now for ICM to really take off? Is just like we don't have those household names, the ones that carry the IP you were talking about. Is that what's missing from like really just giving ICM its real start, if you will?
I think that ICM is just such in its infancy right now. It's literally impossible that Rails could exist for the variety and nuance of founder that's joining the space. Like the reality is that we in crypto have judged markets by like RWAs, DPINs, real world assets, decentralized personal identification networks, security protocols, issuance protocols. We've been very linear for like a very long time, but the Web2 startup space is a spectrum of colors and range. And there's a spectrum of colors and range of founders, right? Where does your favorite pizza shop founder tokenize their business? Who knows yet, right? Where does like your, someone who's developing an indie, cell phone company, where do they tokenize? I don't know. Where does a glass company that produces billions of dollars a year in glass tokenize? I don't know yet, but they seem to be looking at this space and considering it. And because of that, the goal with ICM.Run was to pull in as many people with obscure, nuanced backgrounds to this. So this way, when those really cool tokenization opportunities come our way, we have some form of distribution rails from somebody who has tokenized in that field, understands the ICP of the trader, knows how to bring the product to the market to that particular trader. And our goal with ICM.Run is not just to create a retail secondary market. We 100% plan to make a very institutional market as well for our launches as well. We're talking with a lot of syndicated VC DAOs. We're talking with a lot of like institutional liquidity providers to make sure that projects that we incubate are getting seen not just by people on Axiom, but also by people that are constantly seeking utility coin launches. And there's huge networks for these, like massive networks for these.
And there's like market making firms, and like there's a whole infrastructure around this. Like people wonder, like, how does that get on Binance, or how does that get on this exchange? And it's kind of like you people, you strike deals, certain amount of the supply gets issued as options at certain strike prices. Like there's a little bit of a weird world there, but I think like CLED isn't listed on any exchange, and it should be. It arguably is
absolutely
like one of the best projects out there. Like right now, if you go to Binance, like traders are trading dog shit. 100%. And it's a bad look for
Have you ever
Binance.
seen Binance live streams, gentlemen? Like if you guys ever want to chew on rocks instead, like
this is why exchanges are going and getting their business model disrupted, is because good quality projects, the price discovery is happening on chain. It's not happening on exchanges anymore. And if they're smart, if Binance and these exchanges are smart, they'll start leaning into this narrative, because it's not dog shit. It's actual real businesses, real revenue. And it's something like, hey, you want to disrupt the NASDAQ? You want to be the next NASDAQ Binance? Then you better start listing some of these companies.
Well, projects. You see Coinbase kind of already making that move, right? Where at some point they're incubating all base layer projects onto Coinbase for their huge user base to be able to invest in those. So like there are moves in that direction happening.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you should have happened years ago. And this is why the exchanges have lost market share to on-chain, is not only the technology's gotten better, but the price discovery at earlier stages for projects is happening on-chain.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. One of the things that like I still feel confident about though is that there is this massive network of syndicated VCs that trade exclusively on chain. A lot of them are in the Ethereum ecosystem, but there is also a lot of them as well in the Solana ecosystem. I happen to be a part of a few of them right now. Like one of them, I invest right now with like Nozomi Network. They've invested in a lot of like very early stage AI like network ecosystem stuff. And it's just like, it's kind of like, it's not like I don't want to put it, it's like a VC network. It's just like these people like these types of investments, right? And they do have a really good appetite as well for these types of utility coin launches. My whole thing is that those people cannot like quantify the time to sit in front of Axiom and sort through these. There isn't even an ICM trading website, gentlemen. Like, isn't that nuts to think that if you wanted somebody who to put a lot of capital into these fucking coins, where do you even fucking send them other than like, yeah, search collateral deck screener, bro? Like, you know, it's not enough. Like that's really not enough to attract like smart capital.
They show up on deck screener. It's literally just
but people
all
will go on
paid
time.fund and
tokens.
put $20,000 into Ansom's time coin because they know it gets them into a stream and a group chat. That's all baked into time.fund. So there's like a way to like visualize the value. You know what I mean? There's like ways to like activate the value. And like right now, ICM is one of the most like high opportune, like gentlemen, the shitty ass coins launching on Believe app and the whole chat's screaming over it. Like, what are we doing? You know, the appetite is bad when people are bidding out like design coin on Believe because like people want this. People really want good projects.
Yeah. And dude, deck screener has led the pigs to the slaughter. They've literally funneled them in and they're all paid meme coin promoter tokens. It's actually embarrassing.
Yeah. There's another big issue, and I know this is going to rub feathers the wrong way, but I just want to say there's a lot of farmers here in ICM. There's a lot of FNFs and traders that are targeting Web2 founders and onboarding them to Web3, and they're just basically setting them up for slaughter and snipe. I'm not going to name names. I have my opinions, my feelings about that. I know there's some good people surrounded by some of those people too, but listen, I'm not going to be one to like hide my opinions. Half this reason why I started this was like I was hoping that a few other early movers, and I'm for what it's worth, not talking about Believe Capital. I don't want any insinuation with that. I really like Fishcake. I really like that team. They're really supportive. They actually helped me in my first product a lot, free, no requests, no help whatsoever. They're really good people. I'm not referring to them.
Narcissist is always in our chat.
Yeah.
So
Like amazing team. That's why they're contributors in this DAO as well. Like I want them to be around what we're building as well. And like that's the best way we can align. But there's other people in this space, man. I got invited to some other group chats at some points. That was a part that I left. And it was with multiple. It wasn't just like any one. There was like 3 or 4 I got added to. And it was like all like very active coin traders, very active coin traders, completely undoxed traders, like whatever. Like I don't have anything philosophically wrong with that. But they were like talking about like helping the next Web2 Project Moon. I looked at the last one when they launched. That shit's at like fucking like 20K market cap. That shit zoomed to like 3 million all the way down. I'm like, yo. I'm good on this. And it just sucks. I really the one thing I have the most experience with is making it really fucking hard for people to snipe my launches. That's probably the one thing that like I'm a fucking ninja at is like I'm really good at like helping projects launch and not get sniped. It's the one thing. It's a never-ending game of getting better at. And honestly, it's one of those things where you can't get better at it unless you're in the business of launching. And I understand why people don't know how to. Like there's a reason why market makers do a lot of market making is because they just have really good experience with ensuring projects don't get giga-fucked on a pre-sale launch or a bonding curve launch. But I digress. We're like the thing with ICM.Run is just to align people that like are not deeply financially incentivized by the project success. Much more, they're deeply incentivized by the space being successful. You know what I mean? A successful scenario is like for example, I spoke with the founder of Send AI on a call before this. Like he will directly involve himself, despite he runs a launch pad in like a launch that happens on Seedify. He'll back projects that launch from Seedify despite him having a launch pad. This whole launch pad war stuff is just for people who don't have motion to fucking fight for what little motion they can get. Other founders out here that have launch pads, they're not worried about like this like launch pad warfare shit. Like Seedify is not worried about this. Like Send AI is not worried about this. Like even like some of the people I hope to involve with Believe app aren't going to be worried about this too. It's just like it's more about like helping ICM succeed to validate the validate the ecosystem. You know what I mean? We need more ICM success. Like what is good for the space is that like the good guys win. You know what I mean? Truthfully, like we need like MCG show posting like a 2 million unrealized P&L. Like we need that. I know that sounds I know that sounds
should we just start sharing P&Ls?
I know that sounds dark, and I know that might sound like maybe like off-putting to like Web3 founders, Web2 founders, but if we're talking about like impact on the retail market, that is what speaks to success. That's what people want to see. People do want to see the good guys win. And again, a good way of doing that is by doing
Mercy. I'm gonna manifest that.
Manifesting, bros, for sure. For sure.
Well, something I want to touch on too.
Unrealized P&L, not realized. You know,
Yeah, that's right. No,
never realized.
We want to be long-term aligned.
I'm not here to kill
hey,
charts.
We're not going to kill charts. We had
Seedify or
Starseed.
I burned a lot of my supply of Pandemic Labs. I accidentally sniped that launch. I sniped in for like 6 soul at 100K by mistake. I didn't even realize that that's that big it was. I just happened to be there. I had a 2 soul quick buy and I clicked clack, 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 you know, and then each one clicked through. And I got like a 95 to 120K like buy-in range. And I ended up owning up way too much of that one. I hit a Vesper and I took my bread out of that and I burned the rest of it basically.
I think what you said was really important in terms of the P&L. I'm going to share my screen, share this tweet by one of the homies, Uber. Crypto doesn't need more coins or deployers. It needs more success stories. I think that's really the point of all this. When you talk about attracting retail, they're mesmerized by the stories of success, and I would even extend that out to the founders, right? But just something that what you mentioned reminded me of. We definitely need more success stories because that's how we build community. That's how we get people in, and that's how we bring more exposure to this narrative.
Well, you know, to touch on that point too, I think the last kind of wave of investors we got for Believe largely got kind of wrecked. So you got that sentiment on the timeline where it's like, you know, everyone felt like they got wrecked on Believe, and you had the really early believers and you know, the extractors that kind of made all that money. And so you're right, like we need that success story and the common sentiment shift to kind of feel like, you know, those holders, those believers, those convicted traders are actually winning again.
Yeah,
we'll know it happens when you see it on LinkedIn. So when you start seeing LinkedIn posts with unrealized P&Ls, that's when we know we need it.
How I made $100,000 on a startup.
Yeah,
dude. One of our mentors wants to start like posting about internet capital markets on LinkedIn to start tracking those types of players. I literally told him, I was like, I don't know if it could be me. I don't know if it's good to be me, you know. And if you want to be you, go do you.
Low key, you know,
though, delete LinkedIn.
Market,
low key, I posted Dupe on LinkedIn, tagged Bobby. I posted Avi, Vlad on LinkedIn. I'm like, yo, I'm tagging you guys.
You know, tag Launchcoin and fucking go bring your LinkedIn business profile as like a coin.
That's
right?
it.
Like that could be kind of wild, but no, I don't know.
Delete LinkedIn, please.
I'm like more of like a dev who sleeps on the fucking bed on the ground type of builder, like kind of ISA type. Like I like profile. Like I resonate more with them, and they like honestly, if you want to go pound for pound, like a lot of times like people were like, I was on a space last night and there's a guy who worked at Paradigm. No shade on him at all. I think we had a good banter and we kind of like landed on like nobody knows type of thing, but. One of the things he was saying was like, oh, the best founders come to San Francisco. Like, brother, the best founders in crypto come out of Alliance. Like, and if you want to know what their framework for selecting people is, it's like hardcore devs, baby. Like people who really, really, really understand like the crypto markets, understanding putting things on chain, putting things in gamification, like really understand these things. There's a reason why DAOs.fund came from there. There's a reason why fucking Pump Fund came from there. There's a reason why Believe App came from them. Like there is a cabal and it's Meteor and Alliance when it comes to teams that know how to generate revenue and like focus where the money is moving always in this space, because the market, you know, people want to tell you that it'll be an institutional, you know, cycle for the rest of our lives and it's just cupcakes and roses. But like, if you want to make some hedges on that, bet on the high revenue protocols, because if they're right, you'll win big. And if they're wrong, you'll survive. And those are like the two safest bets you can make is like high revenue protocols. Because if you want to look at like what survived in 2022 and 2023, and you want to know why I'm so focused on ICM, these projects that can generate fees from their token, it's because the ones that didn't die fucking quick, like so fast. The moment the attention flywheel was gone and there's no fees to be earned and they couldn't liquidate any more tokens, founders dipped and they're all gone. And it just took seconds, if not days. And, you know, That's going to happen again. It might not happen for 20 or 30 years, maybe. We don't really fucking know. But if you want to make a good fucking bet on anything revenue generating in this space.
Something that stuck out to me too about this conversation is you said you're having these conversations with institutional grade, institutional level clients, investors, whatever you want to call it. And you get this argument or conversation that say people are like, well, dude, these investors are never going to go this low on the risk curve to invest in private companies at a $5 million market cap. And I would actually argue like that's human nature, and everyone is going to have even a small percent of those portfolio managers.
Their employees are 100%. Like their employees at those VCs 100% are trading these all fucking day. Like I had a phone call with like a really prominent like syndicated VC because one of their employees joined our chat because he was actively trading these. And I asked him like, yo, what's the VC think? Like he's like, they're all just trading them. They're all just like in their free time they'll trade them. Like when I say like trade, like they're holding like 400K in positions across multiple ICM coins casually, right? Wow. Like they're not putting $80 million right now on this shit, but they fucking would if there was a way for them to. You know what I mean? They really would if there was a way for them to sustainably do it. And the way to sustainably do it was like 2018 to 2021. Those opportunities switched on chain. Now that whole group is sidelined. Retail has been sidelined historically. Now institutions are sidelined. It's never good to sideline capital, boys. Like sidelining capital is not good. Like we want capital to move faster always, no matter whose capital is, your grandmom's or BlackRock's. We all want it to move faster and smoother. So whoever figures out how to like create a non-KYC environment for institutions and retail to make bets together, I genuinely think that if somebody's raising a pre-sale, they might want an ICM.Run on their books, and they also might want Paradigm. I think both can coexist. I think both are just bring their own unique value propositions. I think MCG could be one of those types of scenarios where you guys could essentially create a formulated DAO and be able to like get exposure to these types of investment opportunities. And of course they would want you to invest with them. You have a platform, you have the largest ICM platform that exists in the space. That's only going to like multiply. Like it's going to multiply like crazy.
And so Mercy, we had this conversation with Vibu a while ago, and one thing we kind of grabbed from it was these ICM projects that are launching, they need just much more clarity. When a project is incubated by, you guys, is that something, firstly, can we expect all of them to have some sort of attached utility to their token? And also, like, will there be clear outlines of what we should expect in these companies when it comes to revenue, business model, tokenization, what the token does? Can we expect that with what you're building?
Definitely, every single project will ship with docs before we launch.
Because we're lacking that.
I think just transparency is the fucking easiest thing to do. I mean, you don't have to do all this shit so stealthy. You know what I mean? There's a way you can ship and create cultural surprises, but like not lead people into confusion. Like I'll say it. I like Kled a lot. I've grown to like them, but I wasn't one of the traders on that initial coin. I do hold that against him, and he knows that. Like I don't say that he's a bad person. I don't think he's a bad person. It's a mishap, right? But those things really hurt people, and it's not. It didn't need to happen, and it's not Kled's fault for what it's worth. And I don't even think it's Believe's fault either, because they're just pioneering this new thing. But frankly, that should just never happen again. Things like those amateur mistakes that are neither Kled or Believe apps, just early innovators, just don't need to repeat themselves, because there's already frameworks for how to launch tokens in the market that have just successfully existed. If you're a good product, if you're a good project, if you already have legs, if you've already got some form of validation in the market, you don't have to play the same games at teams that don't have that validation play either. You can kind of like be confident, be a little fucking bold. I'm being bold at ICM.Run because like I got nothing to hide. Like I really am not worried about what anybody thinks about what I'm doing, because I'm just duplicating what I've already done. And I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing, rather people believe in it or not. You know what I mean? It's just, people are excited about it this week because ICM's cool again this week, but they might not be next week. That means nothing to me. You know what I mean? The whole, I know I've seen what makes you cheer, kind of thing, like I'm very patient. I'm like a very patient builder, but I know I'm going on a rant again, but yeah, there's a lot of really great stuff that's going to come out of this. And my main thing is just to create like a watering hole where these types of opportunities and conversations can happen more. Like what happened last night with that space just needs to be happening on a bigger scale.
All the time, dude. All the time. I think Ben was incredibly well spoken. I just loved hearing his takes, and I loved hearing the counter takes. And again, it all boils down to the fact that, no one has to have the singular solo right answer. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to be a mixture of what everyone thinks, right? So like No one's going to be
100%.
really truly right about it. And that's like the beauty of those conversations, because Avi can be preaching that equity is the only way and you need it, and Ben can be preaching that no, 100% flywheel is also the only way. But at the end of the day, maybe it's a mix of both, and that's the beauty of something like this.
Maybe it's all the above. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's not the thing itself. It's the idea that we're innovating is more
Yeah.
important, and we're trying to, and most often than not, I mean, this like never existed before. Like I don't even think Rex buying back their token. Are they? Like, can someone tell me? Like, and they're just a drink brand that's tokenized on ETH. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You guys know about Rex, right? On ETH.
Yeah. I don't know about their fly. I don't think they have a flywheel. Again,
But nobody
like you said,
gives a
flywheels weren't
fuck,
popular
right?
until last
Like, who
month.
cares? Like, nobody cares about Rex flywheel. Token go up, everybody happy. Drinks good. People aren't a little more simpler than people think, right?
This is
Drink
OSF.
good, founder
Next
cool.
guy.
Token's good.
Yeah. Well, he was that Mando. I think that was Mando, and that like I haven't heard them talk about, and they have an institutional background. I remember when he dumped like a bunch of Bored Apes and just was
there.
like, "Yeah, I'm
I remember
cashing out." But so they don't have. I guess what I'm trying to get at is like seeing Rasmer host a space, but it just like the intellectual curiosity of ICM has like slowly percolated. Whereas normally crypto narratives move really quick, but this
Yes.
one seems to be like a super slow cook, because I'm just surprised that like no one's covering this quite deeply.
I got tired
yet.
of waiting, bros. I really did. Like,
we're we're also tired of waiting, but like kind of for us, it's been good because we've been able to build a show in that vacuum. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, that's no. Go ahead, Mercy.
No, you're good, bros. I've been yapping enough on here, honestly.
No, that's what we brought you on here to do, man. You're doing your job. You're good. No, but I think that's really the point is nothing is defined. Nothing's shelled out right now. Like it's very fluid. You have a ton of really good people involved in a lot of really good conversations. I think going into September 15th with the SEC, I think I'm as soon as I saw that, I think we covered it on the show at one point, but that's something that I'm waiting on because I think there's probably going to be a turning point, a fork in the road. There's probably going to be something that comes out of that kind of reshapes at least a little bit of what we're thinking now. But again, there's so many ideas being put forward right now. The important thing is that, and what I like is that we're actually having the conversation. I think Launchcoin did a good job of kind of bringing this narrative top of mind. And yes, it's been this slow cook, and yes, trading, and we can say what we want to say about the environment and all that good stuff, but the narrative itself is important. I think that Kled as well.
Yeah.
They're on a journey that can really define it in one way. Maybe Ben is on a journey that defines it in a different way. I think ICM .Run is a good way of kind of being boots on the ground, getting a lot of knowledge, getting a lot of experimentation, and getting a lot of teams on board, but then just fleshing it all out, using all the information, data you collect to really like flesh this all out. And we're at the forefront of all this, at the cutting edge of it. And I think that's
like nothing's Kled's only 17 mil. You got Troll that's like 250. You have all these pump tokens, Fartcoin. Like I guarantee you there's a bunch of fintech companies out there that like, man, we got to add some of these crypto tokens to our platform. And what we're adding is like Fartcoin and Troll and all this shit. And they're like, man, there's got to be something more here.
It's funny, like one of the mentors, Adam, he's former Pudgy Penguins. He was like really early to Flog, really early to Troll. He like kind of really like platform those, and he actually shipping a ICM token called Splat. Really cool project too. It's at a 21 million market cap on its own, by the way, for what it's worth. Launched on Moonit, which is on a Meteora aligned launchpad. So they are on like Meteora's DLM system. DLM, it's 2 M's, right? Yeah. And like their all-time high was like 35 million. And it's very funny. Like when I chose mentors for this DAO I'm building, I really wanted a lot of people with their own unique experience of like, it's not like this linear path 0 to 300 million like launch coins. It's not this like linear path. You have to constantly like be playing smart, even with how you roll out updates and timing those updates. These tokens do have life cycles, and at the moment they're not healthy life cycles. So a lot of teams are forced to innovate on the fly. And what's interesting is you can't really innovate by working on one project. You can only innovate by taking in the gander across a lot of them. So what I really mean by that is that when we're helping a team tokenize, they're not just going to get the opinion of someone who tweeted at fucking launch coin and their coin was live. They're going to get a conversation with someone who's had Binance listings. They're going to have conversations with people that have like shipped market caps. There's a mentor right now that have shipped market caps like over 4 billion in market cap. There's a mentor right now who I don't even tweet much about at all, who sits on a public board seat of literally 30 of the top 100 coin market cap projects right now. He's a very institutional background. And the reason why they're all here is they have the same vision that like there will be this mass influx of Web2 founders. And the variety of them is so much bigger than anybody could possibly imagine that there's going to be a tremendous demand for infrastructure technology to get built. You know, ICM will not just happen on Solana, even if I'm the only one contributing to it. It will happen on Abstract. It will happen on Hyperliquid. It will happen on other chains too. It's like a really big thing. It's bigger than just, you know, like a sub-market of Solana. It's a sub-market of blockchain.
So Mercy,
projects.
I understand how startups come on chain. I think we've laid that out clearly. What about the other side, which is the investor demand? We've talked a bit about institutional investor demand, but like, what about the retail investor demand? Like, I can think back to Yahoo message boards and people trading penny stocks and Timothy Sykes. And if anyone was in 2013 trading penny stocks, that was the golden era. But like that retail, like I have, you know, a net worth of $5 million and I'm old dude and retired, but I like trading penny stocks. Like how do we get that capital? Because to me, that's the real money. That's the real wealth transfer that hasn't happened yet.
You know, I think that's just one of those questions that we'll have to sit around and find out. You know, I can only focus on the markets that I know have demand and like go and seek to bridge those gaps. And the gaps that I see, you know, when I, you know, like when I think of like on chain, I want to align others that are on chain. It's the easiest, most frictionless path forward, right? There's going to be some Chad who joins the space that has the background of everything you just described. I mean, a serious background, like was like a market leader from that era you're talking about, that it has to be the type of person that bridges that gap. It'd be completely just like ingenuous of me to try to like close the gap to a market that I just don't have any experience in. The ones I'll focus on with ICM.Run that are like I'll speak about like ICM adjacent, for lack of better words. Outside of startups, we will also do RWAs with Collateralize. So we will help them to do other types of assets, getting tokenized on chain, leveraging other types of issuance methods and tokenomics methods with them too. So like we might explore some of those types of opportunities as well, which will come as opportunities to DAO members to get involved with those types of like whitelists for those types of pre-sales or investment opportunities too. And like those are like the ICM like adjacent. Now, when it comes to like pre-stocks, IPO'd companies wanting to tokenize, IPO'd companies want to tokenize equity, tokenizing equity, all of these really like legally complex structures. Well, ICM.Run will serve to like collect those people building on those like Nanset like edges in those edge cases. ICM.Run probably will not ever really be able to properly incubate one of those projects because we're not legally set up in a way to be able to actually. So those opportunities that come that are more intense will just be shared among the DAO. You know what I mean? This is something we're looking into. This is something I'm evaluating. I really would like to make you think that as a contributor, you're just going to be like a founder in residence. Like in this, basically this DAO is going to be like a Y Combinator office. And you're going to be seeing people work on shit. And they'll be working on some cool shit. And there's going to be some people passing through working on cool shit that aren't sticking around. And that's also fine, you know? But it's really about like, if you want to work on ICM with other people who are working on ICM, this is where you'll do it. And that's really
maybe back to my previous comment of how we get that older guy. I remember that when the NFT run happened in 21, Christie's and the auction houses, the traditional art auction houses did a really good job of educating the broader public on crypto and NFTs, you know, even putting an ETH price as the currencies they accept, right beside yen, the dollar, etc. And so maybe it's just a matter of like you have kind of these, trusted, let's say, entities saying, hey, we're going to invest in this ICM category, which kind of then says, all right, this is legitimate. And then that's where you get the rush in. And if anyone remembers NFTs, as soon as Visa, Christie's auction house started talking about NFTs and CryptoPunks started transacting, it was like, boom, next thing you know, OpenSea's doing $30 billion in volume a month, right? Like that's the kind of explosion that happened in 2021. I think we kind of forget it because it was a few years ago, but like that's the potential this has. And right now the volumes are like what, hundreds of millions of dollars against, these ICM companies on chain, tiny.
It's completely minuscule, and the opportunity just absolutely is massive. Like one of the things that keeps me up at night thinking about is like we've never been in an era where Web2 founders either A, didn't feel negative about crypto, or B, just didn't know, right? We're at that stage. But from my entire experience being in this space, like I'll give you guys a little insight of my little world, right? Like I went to go hang out with some old buds of mine from high school. And back then, dude, I'm 30 now. So back then, like when I was with them, I was part of like MLM schemes. Like I was a broke kid, dude. Like I was just like I was a poverty kid. Like I grew up around, like I didn't have much growing up and just around a lot of shitty people. And I ended up getting suckered into like some MLMs for like a whole year and a half of my life. So I left all that behind. I lived my life, and I got into like marketing, and my life changed with this different.
Hey, everyone tried to make money back then, so no shade on that. I looked at those. How could I sell internet to people? Like, yeah,
in my life, like I don't come from much, guys. Like one of my first jobs was like selling Kirby vacuums in the hood of Philly, like door to door. Like I come from some pretty like humble beginnings. But anyways, I caught up with some of those buds of mine, and some of them know like I'm doing it cool now, but like not all of them did. And one of them refused to hang out because he thought that like I was going to pester him about like a crypto MLM, crypto scam or some shit, because they heard I was in crypto or some shit. And like I just think that always kind of struck me as like it's been the sentiment for so long. Like people don't even realize on the retail side, like crypto companies are companies with employees and like company structures, or even like beyond that, just like a little crew of contractors, getting Solana every week. They have no clue that like that whole side of the space exists just yet. So we are still, as they say, very fucking early to this whole concept. And for me, it's a 6-year bet. That's ICM to me. Now, people might not get excited about investment opportunities and multi-billion-dollar protocols in the next 2 or 3 months, but it excites the fuck out of me. I watched people in this space from 2022 and 2023 get ahead of the AI market and turn 20 million into like almost like $800 million because they got ahead of that whole curve. They got ahead of the watering hole. They got ahead of like the noise, and they were very close to like culture. You know what I mean? So that's the opportunity I see right now. Like we have a 6-year opportunity to like, it might be the trade of our life, and maybe I'm wrong. There could be other things, but I'm willing to risk being wrong on this. Like it's one of those things that like, it seems like the worthy bet. It passes all my DD,
I don't think you. How could you be wrong? It's like the natural progression of finance, really.
There is one more catalyst, and I'm just going to nerd on this last one with you guys. All I need you guys to know is that vibe coding is getting so fucking good that your favorite software developer that hated it uses it now, and your buddy who's never coded anything before was able to one-shot a fucking app overnight. Right now, in like 6 months to a year from now, it will exclusively be that. And we will see something go viral as a concept, and that concept be turned into a software, and that software be prolifically used in like an hour of a window. Do you know what I mean? Like a post getting millions of views, that guy thinking that's funny, let me turn it into an app, post the fucking app and get millions of users. That will happen, and it will compete with like huge legacy players. And
this
people
is the problem that all the SaaS companies now have. Like think of
literally
like the Salesforces, like HubSpot, like Calendly.
What finance system moves as fast as that?
Exactly. It's
not that hard.
Happen.
It's not a hard bet to make. Like there's only one finance system that moves that fast, and it's crypto.
Yeah.
And in a world where everybody can build something better than each other in seconds, and a software
there's trillions of GDP that are wrapped up in that.
Yes. Yes. And when a product is only as good as it was the moment it was created. There's only one financial system that knows how to evaluate that really fucking well, and it's crypto, 100%. And it's going to move that fast, right? Where you have people shipping Uber level competitive products. Now, I'm being very optimistic. I understand that there's a lot of things that go into these things in Uber that isn't just building a good use case. You know, I understand that there's a lot of on the ground work that needs to happen there, but it's not a far stretched thought that we will get to that stage, and that's not how most products will get built. And you might have that edge case of someone who's developing the software that does that, and they're going to be that San Francisco startup, and they're going to proliferate institutional capital in the Web 2 world and proliferate retail capital in the Web 2 world. But that is little pie is just going to get thinner and 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 more exclusive. Essentially, just completely will get more exclusive, and crypto will be the public domain. And then in time, there will be the edge cases where those public domains have far superior private markets and exclusive markets too. But this just now gets into that whole, like, you know, where do we get to 6 years from now?
No, but I want to tap on this real quick, because the disruption in SaaS, the SaaS economy, right? The software economy is real. And I keep mentioning on the stream, go search AI 2027 in YouTube and go watch In Context. This guy has a great 30-minute video that talks about the next 4 years of AI development. Yeah. And people are not freaking ready for this. And they say, hey, there'll be massive job disruption, but on the other hand, the stock market is going to rip higher, right? So value is going to be created.
It's going to rip very fucking
massively, and the value is going to be created, but it's not going to be because a software engineer somewhere is making $300,000 a year. It's because someone is coding something, an idea, they turn it into a software, they turn it into some value. Maybe it gets tokenized on chain, and that's where the value movement might be in a few years from now. So we're trying to, help you guys get ready for it now, but go watch AI 2027 on YouTube. I tell everyone this. I've watched the video 10 times. It is wild.
Since I watched that. I'll put that on. That's funny. I haven't thought about that in so long.
I tag everyone. I'm yelling at my friends, family. Even these guys. I'm like, guys, go watch it. Like, this is like wild when they talk about the iterative loops of AI development that's happening really soon. It's wild.
Yeah, it's funny. I think my first point that I added into here, and I honestly didn't do this point up justice, because this used to be the very first point used to be an entire thesis post for me. And that is literally AI just is completely destroying the valuations right now of Web 2 startups at large. We are not sure where that's going to go. Equity selling is at an all-time low. And Ben Pasternak was on stage last night, and everyone's saying to him, it's not feasible to sell just equity. And he came back and said, well, nobody's taking all cash for equity anymore. He's spot fucking on. Founders are taking shittier and shittier and shittier and shittier and shittier deals right now because, individuals that write angel checks, or individuals that are doing, hedge funding and, doing seed round investing, or even your Series A right now, they are their assholes are tighter than tight right now when it comes to paying attention to who they invest in right now, because they have projects and products that have millions of dollars in that are going to go belly fucking up across the fucking board. So their ass is tight right now. And the only one group of people whose ass ain't tight at all, and it's crypto. We got an appetite for all of it. Apparently, there's an appetite for fucking fake shit here. There's such an appetite here for good shit that we bid the fake shit.
Right.
You know that there's demand when you bid fake shit. So it's really just about aligning those founders with these types of communities. And it might look like some legacy Web 2 companies look a lot more like legacy coins long term than they do what they currently look like, but we'll see. And maybe I'm completely wrong, but I'm
looking forward to it, bro. Mercy, I'm looking forward to ICM.Run. This is giving me AI 16 Z vibes minus what's his name, the crazy founder.
I kind of like Shaw. I'm not gonna lie, I like Shaw. He's
well, Shaw is Shaw, that's for sure.
For sure, 100%. I like prolific founders. That's why I like Ben too.
But he's a great example of the guy who won, because he was eating dog food, and his wife was like, "Yo, my husband's not gonna make it," doing open source software, and then boom, just
took off. Dude, legend, man. Like, absolute legend. And I like Ben. He's got like that Elon voice thing going on where it's kind of obscure, you know, and you're like, oh, yeah, this is the right founder, guys. Like, he's our boy. Like, he's a weird guy, man, but God, is he good. Like, he's like, we don't realize it, but like, he's the right guy to be leading like a 20 billion market cap launch coin framework. He's the perfect type of personality. He's the kind of guy who can run it that far for what it's worth. And so is Elon. And they're kind of like antithesis each other, but they both can coexist.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited, dude. Thanks for coming on and breaking this down for us. It's built my conviction up. You know, I was already excited for it, but now I'm leaving here much more excited. So thanks for breaking it down for us and the audience too.
Oh yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me on. A lot of good stuff coming from this, and super grateful for what you guys have been doing for the ICM space. Honestly, it's like been honestly. I know you guys have been doing some of the most thankless work sometimes. I remember you guys back in May, April doing this shit, like getting involved. Like it was very thankless, man. Like it makes me happy. Like, dude, like I want to see you guys charging 5 bands in like a few months. You know, like like what's up with the upgrade? You know, you know.
Really appreciate that.
Of course, guys.
Nah, kind words, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Means a lot, honestly.
We'll have to bring you back on in 3 to 6 months and reevaluate how everything turned out. And if your
it might be
thesis
3 to
stood up.
6 weeks at this point, to be honest.
Right.
It's gonna get weird before it gets cool. I'm not gonna lie, but I got some cool stuff up my sleeve. We'll see what happens.
Let's go.
Good
man.
stuff, man. Looking forward to it. Definitely bullish. And honestly, like this conversation has made me even more excited about ICM in general and just where this whole thing is headed. So just excited for these next few months, man. Bound to be a ton of groundbreaking stuff happening. So looking forward to it, and we'll definitely have you back on for a convo.
Remember, we're handing out those NFTs. I think we have 20 of them slots. Sorry, Chill, I kind of cut you off.
It's unrevealed too. It'll be revealed day of.
They'll be revealed the day of. Make sure we're going to bless the people in our community that are in chat, that are in our replies, that follow and support the show. So out of the MCG community, y'all going to be blessed. Fabian, I already see you written on the list, just so you know. And there's a few others. You know who you are. You will be.
Just keep commenting.
Yeah.
If we don't see your comment, we might forget your name. So just comment,
right.
Remind us, and we'll throw you on that list and figure out a good way to get in contact with everyone and get these out. So shout out Mercy for hooking it up.
Thanks, man.
Also, Mercy, real quick too, you had mentioned Splat earlier and how they were doing, the AI ICM thing. I heard him last night for the first time on the call with all the Believe guys and the ICM guys. Incredibly well spoken, man. We got to get him on the show.
Dude, it's a good product. He'd love to, I'm sure, guys. Like, they would love to come on and talk about it. They are like, it's a good product. That's all I'm going to say. And if you know anything about Adam and you know anything about his trading background, you guys are going to resonate a lot with him. This dude's a pro trader. He would not attach himself to a trading product that's like just to fucking create like an extraction stage. Like, they have built something really unique.
What's the handle? What's their Twitter handle?
I think it's USplat. USplat. I'm going to clip that. I'll send that to him.
Yeah, dude, they've done really well, and I don't know.
Ask Splat.
Ask Splat. There you go. Yeah, they've done so well, and I saw them, like I said, for the first time yesterday, and I can't believe this flew under my radar. Like,
let me tell you guys, there's a form of marketing in crypto and tokens. It's called whisper marketing. You don't always got to go and shout a fucking project from the rooftops. You just need the right people with the right people to talk about what's going on and see that not everybody's talking about it, essentially. And
that's the most bullish.
Yes. It's the best type of marketing rollout that you can possibly do if you're doing a almost predominantly bonding curve launch. You know what I mean? You don't want to go out sometimes if you have something good. Again, always comes down to that. If you know you have something good, you know it's actually valuable, you know people will price in the value of it, like you feel confident it'll get priced in. Best thing you can do is whisper it out to really smart people and not give everybody access to the tool and not tell everybody how great it is, so you don't have retail pump this thing for 24 hours and dump it back down to new lows. You create this whisper effect. And if you want to talk about the best whisper marketers, it's the FWOG guys. Everybody who's behind FWOG, people behind MLG, some of the best whisper marketers I've ever seen when it comes to token launching, the best to do it. It's so good that every FNF just copied it and tried to run the same thing.
Do you have a FaZe Banks take? You mentioned MLG, but I didn't screw it out there.
I love Frank. I love the entire LA Vape Cabal crew of people. I have nothing against those guys whatsoever. From what I saw, everybody was getting insider information on that Trump launch. Everybody was kind of getting ahead of that. I don't blame them for that. I don't blame them for what happened to Aiden Ross. Like what happened to Aiden Ross happens every time someone Bitcoin goes on stream. I was lining up to sell my MLG on that fucking stream. I'm not ashamed to admit that. So a lot of people come out those guys and like hold them to some standard. At the end of the day, Frank ran a really great job with D-Gods, and he's allowed to try to move on and try something new and break down and try to build something new. I'm a big believer in repeat founders. Repeat founders in this space have shown success. CZ is a repeat founder. There's many repeat founders in here that are repeat successes and in history, and these repeat founders have clues. So I'm very bullish on that entire crew of people. And anybody who comes for them, right? It's like the same FUD that I hear about Meteor. It's like, okay, we're in a permissionless environment and something went wrong. Like it's not like unless you can actually prove it, you're just making noise. You know what I mean? Unless you can actually prove crime was committed, you're just essentially like speculating, right? You know, so I've never seen anything concrete from these guys that they directly contributed to like something. I actually bid the Tribe Run shit. I was an early beta tester for Tribe.Run, and Banks was heavy on that shit. And I made like fucking 80 soul on Tribe.Run. I did very good. Like
Same.
Shout out Clemente, sorry, bro. But like, you know, like there's a few I got early on, and I just fucking bid the shit out of them.
Man,
you know?
that night, the night of launch, man, was insane, bro.
And
Just,
if they could,
it was glitching.
That, you imagine this world where that was like a daily part of our lives, where Tribe.Run launches were gonna be big. And I'm a part of their beta test community still. Like I still give him feedback right now, like on like product, because I still believe that that's feasible, but. Yeah, I don't have any hate take against them. I think just people like, you know, there's such a hive mind here, boys. Like there's just like everybody wants to do the take that their favorite KOL does, so their favorite KOL notices them. It's like a huge KOL simfest. Like I'm not a part of that culture. Like I'm a realist. I'm a founder. Like Frank's a great founder. Frank will fucking do $1 billion market cap probably on any project he releases. Thread guy's a genius. He's really smart too. He's also really ahead of ICM too. They got balls. They've done some big fucking trades. I used to track their wallets and like pay attention to their trades. So yeah, that's my take.
There we go. Well, dude, we'd appreciate a good word for Splat, and we thank you for coming on, and super excited.
Oh yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Mercy, we'll stay in
Thanks,
contact.
Mercy.
Love, bro.
Thanks, guys. Peace.
Love.